This is the Gilli Pong Analyses series, and I'm focusing on atheism right now. Due to the fact that there was a comment I got on my thingamajigger here, and I just wanted to kind of address it. Let's see here. I respect that you're covering interesting topics about free will versus determinism, but it seems like you are evaluating his character more so than his argument. Perhaps look at people like Alex O'Connor, who talks about the topic with more clarity. It might be easier to evaluate his argument with an amount of verstehen. I'm not very versatile in verstehen, but yeah. Or Sam Harris. Okay, I haven't taken a look of Alex O'Connor, but in the video that they're referencing, the guy's hair was not, I wasn't attacking his character. I was just attacking his hair. Meaning his hair was the very definition of free will, you know. Should you cut your hair? Or should you not cut your hair? He decided not to cut his hair using his will. Therefore, I do decree that his will is free. I'm a poet, you know. But, so it wasn't an ad hominem attack. I wasn't just saying this guy's ugly or anything like that. So I was using it as a reference to the fact that he was a walking oxymoron, and I called him bad names and stuff like that. I'm trying to work on it. It was one of my first videos. So in this next one, I wanted to, I haven't watched this, by the way. So I haven't prepared. So in order to find free will that was given to us by God above, that is the difference of doing good or doing bad. It's very simple. You don't have to go into reading a book about it, right? It's very simple. You have a choice. You either kill the fly or you let the fly live. You know? And I've chosen I've been in the fact that I was a young man who had a young father, who had a young child, and I had a wasp in the room, and I got afraid, and I killed the wasp. I didn't want it to sting my child. But then I grew a little bit mature over the time, and I have spent the whole summer with a wasp nest straight behind me, where I went out to sit and have my caw. And I realized that these beings, whether we call them intelligent or not, reacted in a different way when I wasn't afraid of them. So I used my free will in not killing the flies, and if they fell into my drink, which was sweet, I tried to save them. And in some way, they recognized me and they never attacked me. I just told them, I'm not a flower. Go somewhere else. It's okay. Don't worry. And I didn't, try to make them, not sting me, or I wasn't afraid of them. So there is the very definition of this free will that I'm talking about, given to us from the God above. So, if we go into the video, let's listen to Mr. Sam Harris, who I feel is the master of emotional appeal. And here he uses this red pill reference, according to the title, Taking the Red Pill on Free Will. Another poet, I see. And let's just see what they have to say.
Well, so taking the red pill on free will makes you much more forgiving of a lot of this stuff.
Yes.
Because you see everyone is an open system. No one authored themselves. No one created themselves. No one can directly regulate the effect of every influence.
Immediately you can hear how he speaks as an atheist. No one created himself. it's like he's relieving himself of the obligation of either choosing good or bad. He feels like it's imperative that if there's no creator, therefore I am just a slave to my own desires and my own mechanisms as a system in this reality, like a computer.
Influence that they had or didn't have. It's like you are the totality of what brought you here. I mean, the universe has sort of just pushed you to this point in time, and the only thing you've got is your brain and its states, and that is
the only thing you've got is your brain and its states. This is a very perfect example of an atheistic mindset. You're a brain with a body. But if you analyze the system and you understand, for instance, the endocrine gland system, fight or flight is maybe the best example I can give you. Fight or flight is connected to the root of our endocrine gland system, because the adrenal glands that create the cortisol, that stress and make us fight or flee, these mechanisms are not our brain. It doesn't all come from our brain. So we are a totality of a being created in the image of God. And when you understand the seven and how it is the seven that we are, then slowly you understand that you can do much more with your will than just choose to be a slave to your will, whether it's being influenced by your addiction or your fear or your jealousy or whatever, So it's very interesting. Atheistic brain, body.
Based on your genes and the totality of environmental influences you as a system have had working on you up until this moment. And so the next words that come out of your mouth are part of that process. Now, some people find this to be a frankly demoralizing picture. Right? They think, well, okay, you're telling me I'm just a robot, but you're a robot that is continuously open to influence of kind of internally based on its own processes. I mean, there's top-down control of executive function in the brain to your emotional life, say, and you're continually open to the.
You see how low resolution this understanding is. The executive, your robot, it's like, dude, wake up, take the red pill, man. Realize that you are a soul in a body, in a vessel, that constantly wants you to do good in your life. But you have this internal thing that is always trying to cheat you and trying to deceive you into doing the bad thing,
Influences of culture, right? The culture is this operating system that you're interacting with in each moment, and whatever's getting in can change you in radical ways very quickly. I mean, there's no telling how much you can change on the basis of one new idea coming your way.
Culture is an operating system. That is a fallacy. That's complete nonsense. I'm a technical guy. I know what operating systems are. And the culture of the company has very limited influence on the operating system, except if it's very heavily governed by a system administrator that wants to block you from going to certain websites, maybe wants to make sure that you're not downloading a virus or being spammed or scammed or hacked, So if the operating system is the culture, it's just bullshit. It's complete nonsense. It's like he doesn't even know what an operating system is. So an operating system could be like Windows, and that could be made by Bill Gates. And Bill Gates is a complete and total douchebag, just to be honest. Considering if you look at what open source technology is, and if you look at Linux operating systems, and you see the freedom of software that is being brought to humanity for free. You can use Firefox, which is an open source browser. You can, but in Windows, they're always forcing you to use their kinds of tools, which are crappy tools, you know. Edge, for instance, is a crappy browser that Windows is always trying to make you use. But they have to have it open. They have to allow you to install Firefox or Chrome or whatever browser you choose to allow to monitor your things. So I believe that Sam Harris is a pseudo-intellectual. A pseudo-intellectual is somebody who is pretending to be an intellectual. And he's pretty good at that. He can put out words that make sense to an atheist, because he's an atheist. And as an atheist to an atheist, believing that you are a monkey and have no free will, because culture is an operating system telling you what to do, because you're always watching your phone and you're always looking at the advertisements. So maybe the cheeseburger commercial that you just watched is the reason why you're eating a cheeseburger right now. And you're like, whoa, that's crazy, man. Whoa, that's I'm being controlled by my, ads and stuff like that. If you're living in a society or in a city and you're looking at the city and you're looking at all the advertisements and you're in New York and you're being bombarded with all these ads and all this stuff, then you can easily fall victim to becoming a robot. And they want you to become a robot, these people that are preaching this nonsense.
Right. Now, I would argue that that process of change, I mean, if I say something that changes your view on anything, that's not evidence of free will. That is evidence of just yet more causality. I mean, you don't pick the changes that come your way. If I get you to see something that you didn't see a moment before, you're not responsible for the fact that you didn't see it a moment before, and you're not responsible for the fact that you now see it. It's just like the dominoes just kept falling, right?
Right.
But it does give you this a far more patient sense of all the causes and conditions that have created this odious behavior you're now disposed to react to in the world, right? Like you can, everything on some level is more of a force of nature than it is something that you need to take personally. It's like if there's
like he doesn't have a coherent thought in his mind, this man. He's saying culture is an operating system. He's talking about that you're a complete slave to nature now. It's like, what? These are two complete different elements in this reality of ours. So if you're only influenced by the things that you are allowing to have influence on you, then your will slowly deteriorate into becoming this autonomous thing. Yeah, let's just listen to this guy for a while. Let's just give him a chance. Let's speak your mind, Sam Harris.
A hurricane blowing outside, we don't respond to it the same way we would respond to, Al Qaeda dropping a bomb on us, right? It might create the same amount of damage, but in the latter case, where we have an identifiable agent, right? We feel like, okay, now we're in the presence of human evil, and we have to go kill them. Right now, we may have to kill them, right? Because that may be the only way of putting out this stopping the damage they're committed to causing.
Okay. But the difference between a tornado and Al Qaeda, this is this thing that he's constantly talking about. Terrorists, Al Qaeda, and it all sprouts from this 9/11, which was a hypothetical terrorist attack on America, and he completely believes that. He completely believes that these buildings were taken down by airplanes, and Building 7 just collapsed magically. The effort that this man has in maintaining his belief system must be incredible, because he has to sell books, man. He has to go his way in life and prosper in this fallacy which he calls life.
we would kill hurricanes if we could kill them, right? I mean, we would nullify them. But the feeling we have in both cases is very different. The feeling you have attributing ultimate authorship to a person's behavior is super narrow psychologically and ethically, and it's the feeling of vengeance, right? Like this feeling of vengeance is so natural to get triggered in response to a person.
Sin.
It's not natural in response to a wild animal who may have done something terrible, right? I mean, there have been examples of this where people have taken vengeance on animals, and it just looks like a kind of moral dysfunction on the part of the people who did it. I mean, there's a famous picture of an elephant that got hung from a railroad crane, I think back in the 1920s, right? So like the circus elephant escaped, and it ran, it rampaged through the streets, and it trampled, a few people. And
it's like there are no arguments in anything that he's talking about. It's all rhetoric. He's going left and right and up and down and south and west and east and north, and it's all incoherent mess. This is a 14-minute video. It's going to take me hours to go through, because he's mentioning so many things when he's speaking. And of course you're going to feel disoriented when you're listening to somebody like that. It's like listening to a drunk person talking about things. And it's like impulses upon impulses upon impulses about trying to prove his case that he's not drunk.
And the people in the town, I don't know where this was, it was like Baltimore or someplace, were so outraged that they decided to lynch the elephant, right? And yet there's something uncanny about that sort of misappropriation of agency to an elephant. I mean, what is a mistreated circus elephant going to do when it gets out and is terrified and is trying to get away from people? It's going to trample a few people. So we have a very different set of books we keep ethically for humans.
But wasn't the elephant using its free will to trample its trainer?
And some of it's understandable, some of it's inevitable, but a lot of it gives us moral illusions that we don't need to have, and it gives us a kind of just an inability to take stock of all the variables that are actually guiding human behavior and react to them and mitigate them and disincentivize them intelligently. I mean, punishment makes sense not because people really, really deserve at bottom whatever their punishments are. It doesn't make sense in a retributive paradigm. It makes sense if it's the best tool to discourage dangerous behavior, and it works, right? So it's like, if you're going to punish people for things they can't control, well, that's stupid, right? Because you as much as you punish them, that you're not going to moderate the behavior. So you have to punish people for things that are actually under voluntary control, and it only makes sense if it's the only tool to do the job. And if the moment you had, I may have brought this up last time we spoke about free will, but this is really the sort of reductio ad absurdum of where most people are on this topic. The moment we really understand human evil at the level of the brain, the moment we understand psychopathy, say, which is, maybe that's not the totality of evil, but that's, certainly the center of the bullseye. Once we understand psychopathy as a neurological condition that's governed by genes and environment, and we can actually intrude at the level of the brain to mitigate it. So psychopathy becomes a disease, right? It becomes an injury syndrome, right? That we can fix. And let's say it's a very simple fix. Let's say it's a pill, right? Let's say it's just a neurotransmitter imbalance. In the presence of that breakthrough, we will feel very differently about that species of human evil. We will not judge it in the same way. Because what will happen is you'll give people the pill, and they'll say, "Fuck, I can't believe I was that dangerous asshole." Like thank you for.
I'm boiling. It's so many things he's talking about at the same time. So free will is basically your ability to choose good or do evil deeds. What he seems to be doing is trying his best to say that there's no free will, but he is using examples extreme examples that will invoke emotions within you in order to appeal to the emotions, to prove his point that there is no free will, but it's really just proving free will. It's crazy. Be consistent in your logic when you speak, Sam Harris. It's the only thing I ask.
I'm as horrified by who I was before you cured me as you were, right? And psychopathy in the presence of a cure for it would look much more like diabetes than it looks like evil in the present case. And people aren't imagining what it would be like to be there, what it would be like.
So like every evil deed is due to some kind of a malfunction in your genes and in your environment and in your natural, how nature has created you. So it's a malfunction. And therefore, there's no evil people in the world because they're all just crazy or they're just sick or they have a deficiency in their neurotransmitters. Like, what the heck are you talking about?
Like to actually fully understand the underlying neurophysiology here and actually have something. I mean, there's no guarantee we'll be able to deal with it in a simple way, but it's certainly possible. And I mean,
we have been dealing with it for centuries, for millennium, for aeons. And how we've dealt with it is believing in the good, believing in God. And when you don't have that, then of course you're going to be this rabid, psychopathic converser going all over the place, all over the map, in order to prove your point. But either I feel like he's hiding something. You know, this guy isn't all right.
The classic example is just like the Charles Whitman example, where you have a brain tumor that's causing this aberrant behavior. In that case, everyone sees, okay, this is not evil. This is a brain tumor.
That's the tower shooter guy.
Yeah. Back in '64, I think. And so
the evil in the tower shooter was a brain tumor. What are you hiding, Sam Harris?
But in the same way that a brain tumor is exculpatory there, I think a full understanding of the underlying neurology would be exculpatory. Again, it doesn't mean you. In the meantime, before we get there, obviously we have to lock up dangerous people if there's no way to help them. But the more we see the causes, the more we view this in terms of just sheer bad luck, right? Like there are people who, when they're adults, are quintessentially evil.
Okay, imagine you're a detective. You're in the interrogation room. And you're discussing with a potential serial killer. And it looks kind of like Sam Harris, and he's speaking right now. And you're the detective. You're trying to analyze his speech. You're trying to figure out if he's hiding something. How he is somehow trying to convince you that the evil that he has done wasn't really evil. It was either due to a brain tumor or erratic behavior because, they killed an elephant in 1920. The horrible things that happened to the elephant caused it to kill its trainer. Or it's, a tornado. The difference between reacting to a tornado and an Al-Qaeda terrorist attack. And, it's like, just analyze it like that.
They provoke the greatest feeling of vengeance from us. But if you just walk back their timeline, you recognize that they were 4 years old at one point, right? They were the 4-year-old who was destined to become this terrible person.
Right.
It's an unlucky 4-year-old.
Right.
And so at what point, where's the bright line that says, okay, here's the point where it's appropriate to just hate this person and feel no compassion. And on the other side of this line, you should just feel compassion because this person's unlucky. There is no such line. And a complete understanding of this lifeline in scientific terms, would obliterate.
So there's a line. You're saying, Mr. Harris, either you have no compassion for that person, or you have complete compassion for that person, but now the line is no longer there. But there's a lifeline in science that you have to follow. Okay. Let's go over it again. What are you saying, Mr. Sam Harris?
Lucky 4-year-old.
Right.
You know, and so at what point, where's the bright line that says, okay, here's the point where
Bright line.
it's appropriate to just hate this person and feel no compassion. And on the other side of this line, you should just feel compassion because this person's unlucky. There is no such line. And a complete understanding of this lifeline in scientific terms would obliterate any line you think you have, right? It would just be this cascade of causation. And, adding randomness to the picture doesn't help, right? Randomness is just, somebody's in your brain rolling dice, influencing your behavior that way. Well, that doesn't give you the free will people think they have. So there's
give you the free
ironically,
will because there's somebody in your brain throwing a random dice. Are people actually following this man and thinking he's some kind of an intellectual? Be honest. Please comment, subscribe, and like the video to help me rise up the algorithm. But I am seriously disturbed by this person, by the way. I would not trust this person with my children for an hour. It's just how I would say. It's like, what is this person talking about? It's like he's erratic. There's a lifeline, and either you're this side or there's no line, and then there's a lifeline in the science, and there's a bright line, and there's a rolling of dice in your head, and that's not proving free will there.
There's what seems on some level deflationary of the gravitas of the human spirit for people, opens the door to, at least in my view, a far more ethical and tolerant and patient and understanding view of human failings and human frailty, and then at that point you can just have a conversation about,
Sam, what did you do to the victim? I'm not here to have empathy for you right now. I'm just getting the facts. What did you do to the victim?
What's pragmatic? What works? What helps people change? Like in this person over here who's doing terrible things, is there something we can do to make him a better person? Well, if there is, let's do that without all the judgment.
Wouldn't it be amazing if that's how we treated these public shaming events? Like, wouldn't it be amazing if we gave someone an opportunity to say, this is what I did. This is how awful I feel about this. I would never do that again. I'm a different person. That was 20 years ago, or whatever it was. And have everybody join in. Hey, anyone could be you. Thank you for being honest about who you are now. Thank you for evolving. Thank you for expressing yourself in a way that maybe other people who have also committed really just unsavory or just unfortunate things in the past, unfortunate acts in the past, they can feel
they're like deliberately vague in every speech they're talking about. I think Joe Rogan has a few buddies who got cancelled, Louis C.K. and some others. And public shaming, But psychopathy and a shooter killing a lot of people from a tower in the 60s, it's not the same, right? So what has this to do with free will? And what are they hiding? It's like it's subliminally being put into their speech that we have to forgive the evil in men. But it's not up to us to do that. Is it?
Relieved by the fact that you've grown and evolved to become a better person.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that you're a different thing now, and you are the product of all of your experiences. You're not this one thing. You're not stuck in who you were when you were 16 years old. If you were Marky Mark and you hit that guy with a stick, whatever he did, you're not stuck in that spot forever. These don't mark. It's not a scarlet letter. It's not a mark on your forehead that you keep for life.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the Liam Neeson incident, which I find so interesting, is that there's a case where, I mean, what he's revealing about himself is pretty amazing, right? It's like he just decided, okay, we need a Truth and Reconciliation Commission for who I used to be,
Yeah.
right? And just volunteered this, and for me, I don't actually understand that state of mind. I mean, there are many aberrant states of mind that I can understand. I certainly understand what it's like to want to harm somebody and to feel vengeance and all that. But the instrumental violence piece, I don't understand. I've never felt like, okay, this type of person wronged me or someone close to me, so any person of that type will do,
Yeah.
right? Like that. But that is such a problem the world over in human history.
Yes.
That it is just fascinating ethically for someone of his stature to reveal that about himself, and he put it in terms of honor. I mean, it was an honor. I mean, this is what is so dysfunctional about honor culture, right? This is what we see more in the South than anywhere else in the country, and this is what you see basically everywhere you go in the Middle East. And this is what Islam inculcates to a degree that's fairly unmatched in its community. This notion of honor does link up with this tendency to find satisfaction in instrumental violence. But when you try to run that software on my brain, that just looks like madness, right? The idea that any other...
What is this fascination to believe that you have some kind of software that can run on your operating system? But the operating system of culture, it's like this dude has no idea what he's talking about, honestly. And this has nothing to do with free will. You can talk as much as you want about whether we have free will or not, and try to prove that you don't have free will. That doesn't make you coherent, smart, intellectual, or in any way make any sense. So, if you are trapped in this atheistic mindset, given to you by these new atheists, good luck. God bless you. I hope you rise above it. But this is just completely erratic. There's no coherent thought in his speech. Doesn't make any sense.
Find satisfaction in instrumental violence. But when you try to run that software on my brain, that just looks like madness, right? The idea that any other person will do, right, of a certain type,
Right.
that's just I don't that resonates not at all, right? And so it's just damn interesting, and the fact that the lesson being taken from this seems to be this should be the end of your career for having talked about this in the way. And again, apologies if there's some part of the story that I've gotten wrong or I'm not missing, but it seemed to me that he was always couching this in the horror and amazement appropriate to the disclosure. Like, he can't believe he was inhabiting this state of...
I use big words in my sentences to look smart. That's all I hear. I'm not familiar with his Liam Neeson case, and this is an old video probably, but this was supposed to be taking the red pill on free will, and that's referencing Matrix, which is a complete psychological operation. If you believe that nonsense, God be with you. The red pill or the blue pill to get out of the Matrix, which is an operating system. This is just the thing, man. Humanity is a virus. We consume the natural resources. And I hate your stink. This is just complete bullshit. And it's filled with hate and lack of empathy, and they, it's just, I feel like I have to take a shower after this.
Of consciousness, and it's just an amazing thing to reveal about yourself.
Yeah, and I'm sure he regrets every second of it.
Yeah, and that's the wrong punchline.
Yeah,
right. I
Yeah.
mean, the thing that should happen is someone with a lot to lose should be able to say, how ugly a human mind can be? This is an experience I had,
Yeah.
right? This is who I was. And how much I have to live for and how much I have.
Honestly, Sam, I do not know how ugly a human mind can be. And whether you try to peep Liam Neeson and try to act like his character, where did you hide the body, Sam?
To lose. We have to talk about this kind of mania that can get humming on a human brain.
Right.
We see this every time you open the paper. You see someone in the grip of this kind of thing. Right. It even happened to me. Right. I think it's an amazing conversation to start, and the fact that the result is just an auto da fe is the problem. We're trying to fight our way through it.
Yeah, you're trying to fight your way through it. Now it got interesting, by the way. Now it got interesting. It even happened to me, proving my point. But we have free will. It's one of the first things God gave humanity. And you can choose to do good or to sin. Simple. But thank you so much for joining me. This is the third video I do today. I'm feeling very invigorated and happy about this, all of this. Free will is an illusion. That's another one from Sam Harris. I might take, but it's an hour long. It will take me 2 hours to go through, maybe. But like, subscribe, comment as much as you want, and thank you so much for joining me. God bless you, and drink some good raw